Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to the channel. Just out in the garden, so in the background you'll see new beds laid out, which I need to finish off with some composting, and I have a terrible cold, but I need to get on with this and add value to the channel and hopefully everyone watching. So how did I make 100,000 cold calls and how can you benefit from that? I'm going to tell you in this video. So let's get into it. So I've made over 100,000 cold calls over the years. It's generated all of my income. I've had some great months from it. I've had some not so great months from it. But the first thing I will tell you about cold calling is not to sound like a salesperson. So that sounds a bit ridiculous, but if you start the call with, "Hello sir, how are you today? Can I have 5 minutes of your time?" A lot of people would put the phone down on you, especially if you sound very salesy and a bit too upbeat and a bit too over the top. I'd recommend you keep it more business-like and say something like, "Hi, my name's such and such, calling from X company. We've helped other companies because there's reasons. Is it possible to have 2 minutes on the phone with you to tell you how you could benefit as well?" Something along those lines. A lot of people will generally say, "Yeah, you can." You'll get the odd one that says no, but hey, that's what cold calling is all about. That's the first tip for you. I've got several more, and I'll even give you the ones which generated 10 and 20,000 pounds of profit to me in a month. So it's a bit cold and not so great outside, so let's get back in the office and carry on with the video. So first thing we've discussed is not to sound like a salesperson. That's really important if you want to actually have conversations with people. You could even try, if you're selling a consultative product that maybe it's not going to be an instant sale, which generally a lot of the time isn't, just say to someone, "This is what we do, this is what we help other people. Is it something I can stay in touch with you on?" They'll say no if they're not interested at all, but they could just say, "Not right now, give me a call if you..." That's a prospect because they've showed some sort of an interest. So number two, very important but quite often overlooked, is are you speaking to the right sort of potential client? Are you cold calling people that live in flats about landscaping services, or are you selling life insurance to 18-year-olds? A lot of the time, that might sound a bit ridiculous, but if you're selling an insurance product to someone who's 18, are they really bothered about what you do? If I'm selling finance, I sell it to businesses that have bought from me before and that I pretty much know, I guarantee they will use that service. So just really make sure you focus in on that. Don't waste your time talking to people or even trying to reinvent the wheel with a lot of things. I've seen people try to reinvent sales a lot of the time over the years, and generally it doesn't work. It's usually about putting a product that people are likely to use in front of them at the right time. It's sort of as straightforward as that. So one other thing to concentrate on is your numbers. Are you hitting enough numbers? What is enough numbers? What are enough numbers? Well, it depends. It depends on what your success rate has been. Have you made 50 phone calls and not had anyone that's interested? Have you made 100 phone calls and had 20 people that's interested? So what physical capacity would you have in a day? Most people will generally have enough physical capacity to ring about 100 people in a day. If you need to get to more people than that, you will have to outsource it and pay somebody else to do it for you, which is generally quite expensive. Or you're then going to have to resort to things like digital marketing, which again is not cheap. You're talking about £1,000 to £2,000 to £5,000 per month. Most startup businesses do not have that sort of capital to be able to get going and get some sales in. This is the beauty of being able to cold call and sell to people, is that it's low cost. It's just your time. So if you're doing 30-40 calls a day and you're finding you're not getting any interest at all, then review that and increase it to 60 calls. Review it again and increase it to 100 calls. You need to do whatever it takes for you to get business in if you need the business. It's as straightforward as that. Talking about refining your numbers of calls, I would recommend that people refine the process continuously just refine it all of the time. So are you speaking to the right sort of people? Are you ringing the right sort of vertical sectors? Are you saying the right sort of things? Do you need to be more pushy or less pushy? Do you need to name drop a bit more? Do you need to do more calls? Do you need to do less calls and maybe a bit more thoughtful calls or well-researched calls? That sort of thing. I generally research my calls very well, so I'll have a business, I'll have the fact that I will pretty much know they're going to use my services, and I'll have a contact name. And the reason I have a contact name, which I find on LinkedIn, is that I found that when you ring up and ask for that person by name, you've got a much higher chance of going through. If you ring up like a cold caller and say, can I talk to the person who looks after your energy bills today? How are you today, sir? People will hang up on you or say, we're not interested. So continuously refine and review your processes, maybe once a day, maybe once a week. I probably recommend at the start you do it once a day, and then if it's kind of working, then there's no need to keep refining it, if you're provided you're getting sales in. So that would be a really high up on the agenda of things, is to continually review your calls, your vertical sectors, your numbers, and what you're saying to them. Coming off that, I would generally always say as well too that you need to plan your day very well, because if you say to yourself, I'm just going to call today, I'm going to call 30 people or 50 people, sometimes you don't know how many people you're calling until you write it down. You might think you've had a busy day, you've rang 100 people, you write it down, you've only called 40. Hey presto, that's why you haven't achieved much, and that's why you haven't sold much. So plan your day. I usually find it's best to work in 30 to 45 minute segments to really push and really go for it within that time frame. Take a break. You can't do this hours and hours on end or you know, all day long. It just generally doesn't work like that. It's best to work in short segments, and it's best to plan your day. So I'm going to call that vertical sector, I'm going to do my email follow-ups on this time around lunch, then I'm going to make calls again. Otherwise you're just sort of lost and you're not monitoring what you're doing. So it's very important to plan your days. You can use an app like Notion or Evernote, or just use a notepad. I sometimes find it's easy to write down on a notepad in front of you. So those would be my top things for someone to do if you're new to cold calling and you're new to sales. So don't sound like a salesperson. Make sure you're calling the right type of client. Refine your processes and your calls and your pitches, and plan your day. So this is a short video because, as you may have heard, I have a really bad cold. And you also might be asking, well, what do I know about it? Well, I've been on and off cold calling now for over 20 years. In some periods of my life I haven't done much of it, and others I've done a lot of it, depending on what's going on. COVID forced a lot of changes, so had to go back to calling more people than perhaps I would have liked to do. But anyway, we're back on with that, and this is something that we've had to do to push forward. One of my best current clients is someone I cold called at 4:30 in the afternoon in lockdown when I had a spare hour. That just goes to show you that usually it's not a case of doing anything different. That call, I didn't do anything different, I just made the call. Another call I made in the past that generated over £40,000 worth of profit in one phone call. Again, I didn't do anything different, I just made the call. You'll tend to find that's quite common, in that you don't need to do anything different, or you didn't do anything different. You just need to repeat these processes day in and day out to get the results that you want. You never ever will come up with a phrase or a way of saying things that's a magic, hey presto, I've closed every single sale today. I've personally found that doesn't happen. So I'm going to go. I can't talk that well today. Hopefully you found some value in the video. Please leave a comment or ask me any questions, and I'll see you on the next one where hopefully I don't sound so rough. See you again.